So I thought I would give a background of this case. A very important part I missed on. I did mention babysitters such as, let me demonstrate you. One family right across the street, right across the road, uh, right in front of the house in the city of the Novo Mesto was a Glavich family. This is very important for me to clarify because of uh, um, tremendous slender lies that people from the area alone developed. This was our house here in the city of the Novo Mesto, as you see, Tardinova 4. And so right in front of our, right where I'm pointing at, right here, this, right here, this is where the Glavich family was, right here. These people were my babysitters at times. This is where I would meet, and also at their neighbors, also at this place here, I would meet. Uh, you know what these buildings here are? The reason why I never liked these buildings? I never liked these buildings because inside of these buildings, there was nothing other than people from the Yugoslav army. JNA. These were purely military buildings. This inside of these military buildings, mostly you would have Serbian uh, military soldiers with their wives stationed and children. You would also have Slovenian UDBA people inside here, inside of this, inside of this buildings. The police officers, wives of the police officers. This is basically Belgrade in a little scale, on a little scale. This is the way it was here. This was the most notorious in the city of the Novo Mesto area, where you would have military from Yugoslavia, from the Greater Serbia, I should say Greater Serbian Chetnik state, stationed. This area right here. This was the thing. Now, today I am here to give you a background. This information very, very much pertains to how my case started, how the whole thing developed. Inside of our house, uh, there were two owners of the house. One owner was my father, and the second owner was his sister, Marlenka Pejovic. And, well, she married the man from Montenegro. Uh, this man was like a general in a Yugoslav army. Okay, so my aunt, basically, my father's sister, married a guy from the Montenegro, and uh, I had a family. They lived in a Maribor city, however. That's far away, a city where my father transferred his father because of the problem, because of the problems that commenced. What I mentioned to you earlier, and that's why I started like this area here, about what went on here. This is like you step on the wrong place here, and within the split of a second, your family could disappear. It doesn't matter your age, could find yourself in a Belgrade, and for that matter, in any part of the world at any time. The children were dying here at large. Children were destroyed. The notorious MK Ultra would take toll on lives of the children, age 3, 4, 5, 6. It would be like a frequent news, but it would report where one child was destroyed, and another child again was destroyed here, and another child was destroyed there. And my grandfather, who was an individual that even Russians, people such as Shoigu, would proudly accent that they met him. A man who participated on a Soška fronta during the First World War II. Let's see this. A Battle of Sorrento, I think. What is it? Fronte Isonzo Schlachten. I don't know how you say that. Battle of Isonzo, I suppose. He participated here in the Austrian army. He earned medals and went from here straight to become a prisoner in Russia by walking with a gun, a bayonet on it, literally on the Eastern Front. From the Western Isonzo battle, the war raged toward Russia, where he became a prisoner. He was packed, loaded with German medals, honor for bravery, and so on. Spent a good time as a prisoner in Russia, maybe 5 years or so. Returned from Russia, where he worked as a veterinary, helping people on with animals, you know, with the cows, with animals, giving birth and stuff like this on the field and so on. Was very popular in Russia. Became a very good friend. I understand he even had some girlfriends, Russian girlfriends. He could not get out of his head Russian females, redheads. That's what his passion was. And returned back to Slovenia as one of the last people with some other Slovenian whose life he saved from this front, from this Austrian front, and have used these German medals for bravery, these crosses that he had. He used them to invest into a partisan resistance during the World War II. In other words, the Germans occupied the city of the Novo Mesto, where he was a secretary. He worked as a secretary of the city, which was a tremendous job because he was incredibly intelligent. He knew every person in area, all the way to Gorianci, where he would go for hiking and stuff, meeting people, get to know absolutely every person in person. He was extremely popular, and the Germans did not have a problem during World War II occupation. Did not have a problem keeping him at a top position in the city. because of his medals, because of his First World War II, uh, sacrifice. Uh, he, however, used these medals to um, supplement, to rescue, to rescue partisans in an area who would um, suffer losses. It would be wounded. Um, they would have no medication whatsoever when they would be wounded. And it was exactly my grandfather who would, I guess, secured stolen from Germans medications, aid necessary um, for these people to survive, basically, because these were basically homeless people that gave resistance uh, to Italians, to Germans in area, the partisans, and have saved a lot of lives, carrying not only his head on a plate, but the head of his father, of his daughter, entire family actually. My grandfather did not have wife. One died. My grandmother on the father's side died when she was giving a birth to my father. So he was a single father, and he was doing the stuff that could have him disappear across the night. And they were already one time at a train station selected to for departure to Auschwitz or whatever Dachau or whatever they would. Yeah. So this is basically my grandfather who this is a feared man. You just anybody in Belgrade that was of an older generation that was like next to Josip Broz Tito, people that were prominent in Belgrade or from Yugoslavia knew personally my grandfather. My grandfather could get anywhere at any time. He, Josip Broz Tito, did not come to match my grandfather's earnings, literally, on a battlefield, on a on a level of the sacrifice. Literally, he would not match anywhere near my grandfather's distinguishment, accomplishments. This was my grandfather. Whether Josip Broz Tito knew him, well, my grandfather was insane about Josip Broz Tito. My grandfather was a Yugoslav enthusiast. Of course, the two met, the two knew each other. When I stated that it was the Russian people that would brag, like officers in Moscow that would show off, saying that they got to know my grandfather and so on. While many were inquiring about how to meet him, how you would get to him, and so on, when he already passed away. He had a big problem, did not have friends that would be. His friends were older partisans national resistance partisans, uh, very big people actually. But the problem is that this older generation from these partisans, that in this 5-year war that raged across the country, in which you did not know from the today to tomorrow whether you're going to be alive or not, including your family, uh, they they like to drink a lot. They always had a glass extra. They afford themselves nice cigars. My grandfather was affiliated with the United Nations. He was, I don't know, ambassador of United Nations. Not that he would be ambassador at the United Nations, but it was United Nations that demanded him to represent them in Slovenia. And they treated themselves all too well because I was his grandson, especially uh, due to this alcohol and all these things. My grandfather did not know how to say no or stop. He did from the beginning, but the people that were coming over, more often than not, people from Belgrade, no longer would listen to my grandfather. My grandfather no longer played any kind of role. My father lost control over the situation. I was on the brink of the nervous breakdowns when I'm not going to say facing off with this, yeah, but exactly facing off with this bestiality next door in these buildings that I demonstrated. That's why I really hated this apartments because of what basically what I endured inside of these apartments. It was a hellhole. It was a little Belgrade, except that it was eccentric. It was nothing but the worst you possibly could expect. There was really no reason for me to like these military apartments uh, in front of our house here. And father really uh, contemplated on getting out of here because it turned into a total madness, totally lost control. He would come from work, and this work gradually, systematically, they once he got the father to the home for elderly people to the city of Maribor on the other side of Slovenia, where my aunt was. Um, he was heavily abused in this home for elderly people, beaten up, and all kinds of stuff went on. He alone became part of this. Shortly after my birth, my grandfather practically was killed in this home for elderly people in Maribor. This was the first victim in our family that pertained to MK Ultra, and this was a pretty big person from Yugoslavia for those times in Slovenia that had to pay with his life for this craziness known as MK Ultra. What he became part of with uh, believing how nothing or anyone could do to his grandson, which is what I was, eventually sooner than not costing him life. So if you wanted to know how exactly uh, why the Belgrade so quickly strayed and all these things, because people went crazy knowing that I'm his grandson, and he felt especially good about having a grandson that is contributing to the local economy. Uh, I could say he had no mercy, but he had no mercy because he was under the influence of alcohol with his friends. This was a fucking mad place. He had 3 friends, I remember him very well, and of these 3 friends, There was just one more left that was normal. Well, the other one was like half normal, and the third one was completely insane. And he was somewhere in between, did not know anymore what the fuck was right and what the fuck was wrong. I ended up, if you remember earlier when I stated a child was killed here, a child was killed there, talking about the brain killed, children left with nothing to live for. It's questionable even whether they did not literally get them killed physically also. It might not be even the case because I remember that also went on, that they got rid of the children when the child would be destroyed mentally. Some few from beginning, they would give them into the schools for special needs and stuff like this. Some parents, however, simply got rid of the children. That's how brutal stuff that was. They found the way for the system, basically to excuse them, whatever they did to the children, which was the most humane thing, I believe, because to be disabled, thrown into some place for the rest of your life, uh, mentally ill because of the stuff like this is just not worth. So you got to understand where exactly I am coming from. Uh, in Germany, Deutschmarks from the Eastern Germany, the Eastern German marks. This is Eastern German marks, East German marks. Um, value. This is Western German marks. It was not worth its shit from what I understand. The East German mark was officially valued by the East German government at parity with the West German Deutsche Mark. However, due to limited convertibility and restricted export profile, it was essentially worthless outside of the Eastern Germany. What I'm going to tell you is, and what went on with Angela Merkel, there were two things that would fit inside of the little luggage, little, like we used to say, coffer, small luggage, you know? You see, like the luggage that you see here, this kind of luggage, there were two things that would fit inside of the car from Angela Merkel, or maybe somebody else if I had to go with him to get persons smuggled from Eastern Germany to Western Germany. One, it would be me, I myself, yeah. And the second that also would fit in there maybe would be in a value, Eastern German money in a value of 5,000 Deutschmarks. It would be full of coffin of the money that smugglers would take from the people with whom I would sit inside of the car. Sometimes they joked. They said, "Whom should we put inside of the luggage? Should we put him inside of the luggage, or the money, and so on?" They were laughing about it, about this stuff. But I was like a lucky pass, having me inside of the car. The only thing that would happen is they would just they let us basically fly through the border. All right. With me inside of the car, there was like no border basically. I was like some kind of nobody's land basically. Wherever it popped up, and it was the same thing later on with the drugs and stuff like this, they would smuggle into the Balkans and to the Italy, and from the Italy and uh, in various locations around the world. You know, that's basically there were two things that would fit inside of the luggage like that. That was myself. Angela Merkel was laughing like crazy about this stuff. Oh, she stressed me. That's very important to tell you that she, however, never takes any kind of money for rescuing anybody from the Eastern Germany, which I understand other people have confirmed. To her, it appeared it was very, very important. Whether that's true or not, I do not know. I know that I saw the money all the time, the luggage packed with cash. It was so much money inside of these coffers, basically. Like you don't even see in a fucking movie stuff like this. You don't see in any fucking movie like this. It was one guy that would keep coming and using me, and I was looking at this money, and to me, this was like, how can I say this to you? This was like I didn't have any kind of feeling as a child for the money. It was just I didn't care about it. I kind of suppose that this is just there's fucking money as much as you want, basically. I didn't know really when it comes to the money. I mean, I know this it's a money and stuff like this, but I didn't pay any kind of attention. I myself, I was more enjoying fact that I was around these people and that they rely on me in many ways. It started eventually to get important to me, and this is when things went really, really from the worst to the worst, basically. Because when you start to care about things, uh, people such as British royals notice it, and they turn the whole thing into a disease issues to excuse themselves, basically to portray themselves as useful. You understand? And you as crazy, as mentally ill, and so on. They don't want from people any kind of favors, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Even from the children. Thanks for watching this video. I don't have anything else I would say to you. I hope that you learn a lot about what it is like to deal with and around uh, people from like a high special uh, standings, basically. Um, like basically people that sit atop of the hierarchy, uh, hopefully not, but in whatever countries that you are. And this here, this was a place from Tatalovici, right here, almost like next door, not too far from where I am. Another apartment building like this. All these people, everything I'm talking about, everything around me was only police and a military officers. When I say officers, like I mean not soldiers, okay, people with already quite distinguished ranking within the military. These were no ordinary people. When I say that as a baby, that I would get the visits from the Belgrade, that would make extremely happy my grandfather. Yeah, I remember absolutely everything. I remember his friends. One friend, I think, was a judge, whatever it was. He had like very like a golden hair and so on and so forth. I remember them. I remember them. This is the way it is. Today is September the 28th, 2023.